the biggest issues in America is the systemic racism that plagues the entire country, having African Americans calling for justice. The fact is, they have been calling for justice all their lives, and the topic has just been revived because of the killing of George Floyd in May of 2020. Racism has been a problem ever since the days of slavery, and when slavery was formally abolished, it unfortunately did not get rid of the racism and the white supremacy that came with it by itself. And I want to talk about the reasons why the 13th Amendment and the Reconstruction era after the Civil War failed to get rid of the hidden disease that plagues our population to this day. After the abolition of slavery in 1865, there were still white supremacists in the country, and to be honest, there were no real ways to get rid of them. People have ideas that they form by themselves, and it is impossible to try and change the philosophies of different people. But there were some things that state governments failed to do in order to help the African Americans reach equality in society. One such example was the Black Codes, which were laws instituted by the Southern state governments that, although gave Black Americans a starting point in society, it eventually brought them back to conditions before the Civil War, with the idea of sharecropping. It bound them to sign labor contracts with the white landowners, strikingly similar to the labor system of slavery. I believe if the Southern states formerly in Confederacy changed their legislation in the Reconstruction era, life would be a lot different for African Americans today. But times are different now. Society has changed dramatically. We need to know how to combat racism right now. And there are some things that you can do right now. We can all take the time to learn about systemic racism and its impact on society today. It can go a long way if you follow along with current events or learn more about what really happened with George Floyd's death or the Breonna Taylor incident. You can also follow along with any changes that our new president, Joe Biden, will put into place regarding systemic racism. In addition, you can look around and see who you associate yourself with. Do you work for a company that has racial bias? Do you have friends who have racial bias? Do you reflect racial bias yourself unintentionally? These are some questions that you can ask yourself to take the first steps against racism. Next, you need to understand that some people in this country are at risk of losing their lives just because of their skin color. You need to put yourself in their shoes in order to truly understand the pain and why they choose to fight. Some short things you can do are to report racism, stay safe online, and have a clean digital footprint. Support others who are dealing with racism and to never give up. If you yourself have experienced racism, either directed towards you or other people that you know, it is never okay to keep it to yourself. Keeping things to yourself or not properly talking to people around you about the situation can often make the situation worse. You can always talk to trusted adults, and they will almost always help with the situation. The racism that exists in society ever since the ending of slavery will most likely continue to go on, and the only ways to combat it is to have your voice heard and to keep spreading awareness. But nevertheless, I hope society works to change how it functions racially, and I hope the history of the United States will eventually stop affecting the future.